Welcome to the August 26th OpenJ9 community call. Just a reminder, as always, to please add your name and affiliation to the list of attendees in the Google Doc linked from the planning channel in the OpenJ9 Slack. This is just so we know who's been joining the call. We don't have a lightning talk scheduled for today, though I have posted the recording from the previous lightning talk last week by Kristen on hot code replace difference engine. But if there are features or things people would like to talk about in the next little bit or over the next few of these community calls, please do reach out and we'll get those scheduled. I'll pause here for a moment. Just if there are any other pieces of business people want to add to the agenda or community questions people want to bring up right off the bat. All right, doesn't sound like it, but if there are, feel free to chime in throughout the meeting, or we always pause for any other business at the end as well. So we'll just start by taking a look at the user raised items. So things that have come in, there's a crash on AIX, which is being looked at. And then the next one, everything else in this list is older and would have been discussed during the last community call. So if are there any in this list that people want to call out as concerns or things that need attention that they're not getting? So then a reminder again around help wanted issues that we want to make sure that the community's open and has an easy on-ramp for people. So if you can, as you're working through code and you find something minor that needs fixing, that isn't critical, it would be a great thing to open a help wanted issue and then help mentor somebody through completing that work. All right, I'll take a look at the dashboard for a second. All right, so if we take a look at the OpenJ9 trend, we're on an upward trend again after having been on a downward trend. So, and just for comparison, I'll put up the hotspot data. And so seeing similar peaks and troughs in the hotspot download data as well. Is there anything in these trends people want to call out or dig into in more detail? All right. Then I guess
sorry, do we care about per platform numbers? Those are just per version, right?
The numbers we were looking at was a combination of everything.
Yeah, both ones were, but you can separate by version, but you can't separate by platform.
Yeah, I think by platform would be interesting to see.
Platform breaks out when you click on some of the bar graphs in the, not on this, in the original page. So you're right now in trends. But if you go to the bar graphs, you can see kind of some breakouts by platform. But again, this is an open tool. If there's additional features, you need to see. But yeah, if you slide on to
Here we go.
these, you can click and get more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shelley. So there you go, Adam. There is data on per platform. If when you're digging around in there you find anything particularly interesting, feel free to highlight that either here or we can start a Slack conversation around this as well. In terms of our upcoming release, we are very quickly coming up on the milestone 2 date of August 31st. And so that means we should take a look at our milestone plan and see how we're doing. Now, at this point, we still have 19 open issues in this list. Some of which appear to be test failures, others are issues that we've been tracking for a little bit of time. But there's a number of these that look to be new with JDK 15 that we should be trying to focus on and get them closed out for this release, or at least understand what the cause of the failure is. So if we take a look at the hidden classes, Jeff, just because that's a larger item, there are some failures being looked at. So basic test failures. All right, so why don't we go back? I will ask Hung. Okay. So the next item on this list is a 390 test failure. Is this something that we expect to have fixed and closed in this list? I'm just seeing if any of the usual 390 participants are on the call. I don't see them right now. So I guess
So there was already a question posed if it could make the September 15 deadline, but it would be kind of late to put that in. The answer was yes, they thought they could make it, but September 15th is kind of late to get changes in.
well, yeah, given that we're likely shipping on the 15th.
Could you just clarify the date in there for them, Dan? They may not be operating under the right assumption about what the date is. Sounds like they know what the problem is. It's whether they can do the fix safely or not. So I'll have to see if I can chase up with them about what's going on there.
might want to put August 30th, because normally we would take the build from the Sunday night and print and label tag from that.
Thank you. So I've updated the question there. So the next one is a sort out the extension for AIX. I believe the answer, actually, I'll pause. Jason, you're on the call. Can you clarify what needs to happen here?
Sure. I think for the JDK 15, we probably just leave as yeah, and no further change required.
Okay, and so for JDK 15, the JDK is built assuming .so on AIX, and we have a patch in the extensions to fall back and look at .a as well.
On that patch not got in, but that patch is not necessarily needed for currently JDK build 15 build, because this SO only affect whoever use that API system mapping library name public, and this name is currently return SO. It works fine, and with an extension repo, that patch only needed if somebody and use this API in JDK and expect it's .a, but we know currently there are no such case. So that is more like in case somebody use it.
So this is to support user JNI code with .a extensions.
You mean in the extension side patch fix?
Yes. I guess my question is, without a change to the extensions repo, will we be able to load and use JNI natives from .a libraries on AIX?
We have the way to load .a in like a load library way, in a normal just load library system.load library. That currently this change only affect some whatever potential application use this system map library name public to get the library name, the platform specific name, and use that name to load the library. And this use currently all in the JDK itself only usage is in the JDK that native library. So the
Okay. So,
probably short answer is like for the JDK 15 itself, like that patch not needed at all, and for whoever probably I need to look further to see if there's other impact on a potential other application.
So there's going to be a
Like,
change in behavior. So up to Java 14, the default was to look for .a files, and as of Java 15, it's going to default to .so files instead, correct?
yes, that's right. So if there is an application outside of JDK, if they depends on this behavior, they will get a different result. So yes,
Sounds like
that's
something we should have in the release notes.
Yes,
Yeah.
we already have a doc opened.
Did the doc PR get merged?
Not
is it still
yet.
pending?
It's still. I submitted probably 1 week ago and haven't got any review comments yet. Probably will ping Peter.
Okay, so hopefully it's tagged for the 022 release and it'll be something that gets into that release.
Yeah, I guess that's what it aimed for.
Okay. Just being cognizant of the time, I don't know that we're going to be able to get through this whole list of things. Are there issues in here that should be called out?
And the other question is, do we think we have issues for all the failures that are happening in the nightly builds? They seem to be about 5 OpenJDK test failures that were happening.
So I see 5 or 6 issues here. And when we had discussed this yesterday, you had mentioned an issue or 2, and I think those ones are reflected here. But I'm not sure of the full set of all 5 test cases.
The other thing I noticed is there's a system test that seems to be fairly consistently failing.
I don't see a system test reflected here.
Do you remember the name of it, Pete?
Yeah, I'll just pull it up.
Yeah. There's one that we have in the system test repo that Simon said he was going to try to take a look at, because it actually there's actually 3 system test issues open, and I think we think it's the same problem, just described 3 different ways.
So it's the JLM remote memory auth. Different variations of that are failing across all the platforms, I think.
Okay. That could be the one he suggested he would take a look at, but I'll double check.
Are there any other items in here or items that are missing that should be in this list? Okay. Just a reminder then that we need to be burning this list down. So if you're looking for the next thing to pick up, please pick up one of these test failures or one of these issues and see if you can help make progress. Probably good to coordinate either through the issue or via Slack with anybody else who's also working on them, just to make sure that we can get them resolved and avoid duplicating effort if possible.
And just, Pete, the one that Simon was going to look at is JLM remote failures. So I don't think it's.
No, that sounds like the right thing.
I'll send you the links to the system test issues.
So given the state of where we're at, do we still believe the August 31st milestone 2 date? Or is that something that we want to be looking at pushing back?
I know the issue on ZOS in particular that related to big integer And primes, it's not intermittent. Sorry, Z-Linux, one that you looked at earlier.
Okay.
Seems like it would be important to fix it. And then all the feature work needs to complete. You looked at the hidden classes one. Is there other feature work?
The hidden classes is the one remaining one. Sealed classes, I believe, closed out with the last set of debugging patches going in either the end of last week or early this week. There is a sealed classes reflection test failure here, so that's something that will need to be looked at.
Something about final fields.
So I believe the changes for that are in, though looking at some of the failures here, I'm wondering if these are related.
There's an unreflect test that's failing. Yeah, it's related to the final, something about final fields, maybe.
So the unreflect test seems to be failing to compile. Maybe we're missing a throws declaration on a method. We'll have to double check that.
I wonder if that's still relevant, or maybe it's platform specific. So I'm looking at Windows. It's failing the unreflect test, and it's an assertion error running the test. It should fail to unreflect a setter for final expected. Expected true, but found false.
Can you paste the link into this issue then for the
test fields in hidden class? So maybe this is related to hidden classes.
So the for the final set failures, so I'm looking at the those test failures inside hidden class. So I noticed that there are something missing in our method handle because Java, I believe Java 14 or Java 15 has added a trust field, something called the trust final in a field.java. So we're not checking that field when using when doing on reflection in our method handle code. So I think that's the reason why it's calling all this unreflect test failures.
and that's unreflecting field setters, I assume. We must be missing a check on that. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, there's just a new field in the field class. So we're not using that field. We're not checking that field.
Okay. Do you think you're close to having a pull request for that?
So I have a pull request probably I think within the 2 days. I'm doing some final testing. I can fix the one in the hidden class, the failure in the hidden class. So for the failure outside of hidden class, I don't have that fixed yet.
Okay.
I see there's a PR in the milestone plan related to anonymous classes and if they're retransformable or redefinable.
The add host class package to a non-class name or something else?
No, that one. Is that expected to get in this week, or should it be deferred?
I think it should be able to land this week. Sorry. It's just a matter of getting through the review. I think the code is there. So either myself, hopefully I'll get a chance to review it, and if not, I will reach out to someone else to get a review done this week, because it should be something that we can land.
There's an issue I opened from the release notes for Java 15. Lookup define class should link the class. It doesn't look like there's been any action on that.
I believe we were already doing that. In one of the patches that went by for the hidden class work, we were already forcing the initialization of the class, but we will need to validate that. Hung, is that something you can take a look at?
Oh, so there are two callers for define class. For the hidden class one, I have that local change. For the other one, I don't have that change now. So yeah, if lookup is calling define class, I have that change to link that class. But lookup, there's another API just called define class, not define hidden class. So I don't have that change for for a normal class. I don't have that change.
Okay, again, that should be a fairly straightforward patch, so we'll get somebody to look at that and get that resolved.
And then there's two issues related to container support and max heap sizes. Probably need to be moved out.
Yes, there are only document improvement, and I have clean, I know for like 10 to 2 it's already submitted, and for second one he confirmed certain moments that he knows the date. I told him September 2nd for document. He is not here today, but I will ask him tomorrow like what is going on around. So there are only document improvements, nothing functional should be changed.
Okay.
Okay. That's less of a concern for the milestone date.
I suspect some of the issues might be already resolved and just the issues weren't closed.
Are you able to take a look through, Pete, and see if you can match things to issues that have already been resolved?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be able to match up the issues to a fix, but if they're not occurring anymore, we could probably just close them issues.
Okay. If you don't mind taking a pass through to validate that, it would be appreciated.
Yeah.
So on the basis of this, why don't we continue to aim for that milestone build to be on the 31st, and we can reevaluate where we're at Monday morning and just make sure that that's actually a feasible target and slip that date day by day as needed.
Sounds good.
I think we should still aim for the September 15th release date to be matching the rest of the OpenJDK code as well. And if necessary, we can discuss slipping that day by day. But the goal should still to be trying to ship on the same point. Okay. Any other comments on the release?
I see there's no section for the next release, the 0.23 release. Might be a good time to call that out. So based on historic dates, we should be doing a code split, I think on September 6th for the 0.23 release.
Sorry, code split on what was the date?
September 6th would be the Sunday.
And then the milestone would be on the 7th.
Yeah. And then we could choose the 27th for M2.
And this would put us at October 15th for the GA.
Well, the release date is the 13th. 15 is a bit tight. We might be able to make the 16th, which is the Friday. What I'll put into the official plan is the 19th, which is the Monday. But often we get it done by Friday. But this release might be a little bit harder than previous releases.
Agreed. And you said the OpenJDK release date is the 13th? 13th?
I believe so. So I put the 19th as the GA.
Okay.
So does anybody have any concerns with doing a code split on September 6th? Is there feature work that's targeting the next release? Somebody's trying to get completed?
I'm not aware of feature work targeting that, given it's going to be mostly the security fixes and general updates for the LTS platforms and the first support. Trying to think of what they call the first patch release for the feature builds. So I don't think there's major features that should be lining up for that. But there are a lot of things in this milestone 23 plan.
It is the long weekend too, right? In Canada.
Ah, right. That's a good point. Maybe we should. I don't know, should we defer it or still target that weekend? But it would, I guess, any build from the weekend, probably nobody's going to be around since it's a long weekend releasing any changes. So if the builds from the long weekend look good, they're probably all be the same SHAs.
Yeah. Why don't we keep that? Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
Well, I was just going to say, what would be the downside of moving it to something like the Thursday, I guess, or something like that, just to give people a little bit of breathing room from when they get back to. And it's not a lot of breathing room. I guess I'm just worried about people rushing to put stuff in before they go away for the long weekend, maybe. And
Yeah, if we're going to defer it, I'd defer it to the following weekend, because what happens on the weekend is we run additional tests.
Right, okay.
We run additional system testing, so we get to check that the additional system testing looks good before we do that code split.
Yeah, okay. So I guess what would be the, I mean, other than the fact that we're doing it that much later, would the week hurt us that much in terms of?
Well, the downside is that there's more time for people to get new code in, which gives us less time for that code to be stabilized or find late breaking problems in that code.
Yeah.
So more of a chance that there would be unresolved issues at release time.
Yeah. The other alternative would be to move it up a week, but that's this weekend or next weekend, I guess. No, it's this weekend.
I don't think there's any problem actually targeting the long weekend. It was just somebody would have to do the branch on Tuesday when they got back to work. And like I said, since nothing would be likely going in over the long weekend, we'd just have an extra build over the long weekend to confirm that everything looked good.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't have any. I'm not against it being a long weekend. I just hope nobody feels like they have to work a long weekend to get stuff in. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody's rushing to try to get something in for the long weekend, I would say don't. wait till after the long weekend. Wait till after we branch. Your feature's not going to get into the release, but maybe that's a good thing if you had to rush it.
Yeah, agreed. Fair. Yeah, I accept that reasoning.
Okay. So it sounds like we'll keep those dates then.
And we, if there was something that we thought should go in, we could always double deliver it once it does get delivered, and if we think it looks good, or we could consider double delivering it.
Yeah, that sounds like a reasonable mitigation, right?
Okay. Then being cognizant of the time and knowing there's a couple of things in any other business that we do want to get to, let's move on from this and we can continue the discussion during the next community call or via the Slack channels. For the adopt update, Shelley, is there anything you want to call out here?
I put links to everything there. Mainly, there was a recent API outage. We haven't had too many of those, but this one has prompted us to create a TSE issue, and we will make a plan to make sure we have 24/7 response for any future problems. I guess the only other thing of note here is someone had come into the project and mentioned that TZ Updater has been updated by Oracle to support non-Oracle binaries. I mention it because I know there was a issue 123 that was raised to talk about feasibility of contributing the IBM time zone updater. So I'm not sure what this means, but I wanted to make sure people were aware of it. That's it.
Thanks, Shelley. All right, I see there's nothing else to call out in the machine section. So we'll move down to the any other business. Devin, is there an update on the CMake migration?
So I've been working on the ZOS stuff, but I think I have it there. There's still a crash, but it's startup. But I think it's just a configuration issue. So I fixed that, and then of course you have to rebuild the whole thing. That's the edit rebuild cycle takes a while. So in the meantime, I've started working on the Windows fixes. I believe I have a script which will work around kind of the path length issues, and hopefully that will be ready to go by end of today or mid tomorrow.
Is the comment about AIX64 and AIX still relevant?
Well, I mean, I believe the AIX64 patch is in. The AIX stuff, there is, I've just opened the PR on OMR side, and I'm going to probably poke Robert Andrew to take a look and merge that.
So just to refresh my memory, AIX64 did convert to CMake, and then the patch was fixing what?
That was just aborting if we were trying to, or not defaulting to CMake if you're trying to do a cross compile for AIX64.
So are we looking at longer term fixing cross compiles to use CMake?
Yeah, long term, yeah, definitely supporting cross compile under CMake.
And Devin, do you still believe you're going to make the October quarterly release to complete the JDK 11 transition?
The Windows stuff should get there. The ZOS stuff is a bit of a question because it's always kind of broken until you find the last bug and then it's not broken. So I'm not sure when that will go, but the Windows stuff is a safe bet.
Okay.
Well, but that doesn't sound like it's going to make the branch date. It would have to get in this week or next week.
Yeah, well, the Windows stuff is, I believe, it's just that path length issue. So, and I have a script which appears to be working. So, hoping to get the PR open, like I said, the end of today, mid tomorrow, sometime in that time frame.
Okay, so it's possible.
Yeah, from a October release point of view, ZOS is not included in the release. So if the other platforms are functional, we could make the switch for everything in OpenJ9.
Yeah.
Just a reminder that the next microJIT meeting is August 27th. Is there anything else people want to call out around that?
No, nothing to add. All welcome. So thanks.
So the next one is a proposal from me to create a OpenJ9 Utils repo for things that are not yet part of an OpenJ9 build. This is tools like the tool that Kristen talked about last week, where she's looking for a home for the code. You know, OpenJ9 may be a place for that, and other similar tools where we're looking at the code. We need a place to be able to collaborate openly around it, but it's not necessarily something that's ready to go into an OpenJ9 release build. And so by keeping it off to the side, we keep the repo smaller and give us a place to work on this and figure out exactly how these different utilities fit into the project. Assuming there are no objections, I'd like to proceed to create or have the Eclipse webmasters create us a repo for this, and then we can start to collect appropriate utilities there. Does anyone strongly object to this proposal?
I am actually for it because we have some tools regarding memory analysis, and we didn't know where to put it. So I think this is the right.
Yeah, we got 7 thumbs up, not including Marius. already in the issue and no actual comments. So it sounds like it's a go unless somebody's going to object on this call.
All right, I will proceed with making the opening the Bugzilla and getting this created, and we'll go from there. There's a proposal that Daryl has asked to add. I've added it here for people to have a chance to review it with the intention to discuss during the September 2nd meeting. So please take a look at the issue here around ARM32 support, and we can discuss that further next week. And I see there's a topic to curate the GitHub topics related to OpenJ9. Mark, I'm assuming you added this?
Yeah, I created it based on a question that Sharon asked on our Slack, not realizing that Philip had opened an issue on this almost a year and a half ago. So we're scraping stuff together from the two discussions. I kind of summarized it in 10.4.24 there, and then I'll open the Bugzilla bug with Eclipse to get the webmaster to change it. So we have a collected list of topics there. Yeah, thanks for putting that up. So that's the collected list of topics from everything. There is a question about whether or not we should include OpenJDK there as a topic. I think there's an argument to have it, and then there's an argument not to have it. So if anyone has a strong opinion on that one, please post it there. And otherwise, I think we should pull the trigger on this one, within the next few days, like maybe by the end of the week. I won't be able to do it at the end of the week, but maybe we could say by the end of the week comment, and then I'll go forward with the bug on Monday, if that sounds reasonable to everyone.
That sounds good. I will stick in my 2 cents that I think we should not include the OpenJDK.
Yeah.
Tag on OpenJ9. We are different projects here, and so it makes sense to keep that very clear. All right. If there's no other business that we want to discuss today.
I would like to touch on one issue. It's the OpenJ9 operator. There is an issue, and now there is a PR open as well. The PR calls for checking in more than 1 million lines of code. So I was wondering what's your opinion about this. I was shocked when I saw that.
Yeah, I have some concerns with that PR, and I think we need to have a larger discussion on it before proceeding with it, and treat that similar to the way that we have treated the microjit contribution, and just make sure that we understand the intention around that, how we as a community would support that and test that, and whether it belongs in the core OpenJ9 repo, or do we need to have a separate repo for that? So I think there's a lot of questions around that contribution that needs to be sorted out before we accept that. And I have a to-do on my list to reflect some of my questions, at least, into that issue. But if others have concerns around that as well, please do raise them in that issue.
Yeah, I hadn't realized it was going to be 3,000 files worth of changes. That's a big chunk of stuff to add to the repo. For sure.
So Marius, it sounds like there's a lot of people who share your concern, and I think we do need to have a broader discussion around this.
Yeah, I thought that a separate repo would be a better idea. It's just,
It's going to be bigger than just about anything else in the repo.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm also slightly concerned about how we keep that operator up to date, how we test it, how we validate it, if it's something that we're delivering with the project.
I'm kind of curious how that much text got generated too. Like, is it being generated from something and that's why it's so big, or like, is it? Anyway.
It's copied from another repo. So most of the code, the template, or all the code is stolen from another repo, and then we make our modification out of it.
What's the license for that other stuff though? That's a critical issue, right?
That's a really good question, Andrew.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that certainly wasn't clear to me.
Yeah.
Marius, if you could please add a comment about that, that would help a lot, because that was not clear to me when looking at that PR.
Yeah, and the ECA sign off on there, I don't know if there's a way to mark it as not valid right now or whatever, but certainly the default signed on the commit is not enough to say that, because it's not all from the author.
Okay, so I think the action there is we need to have some discussion in that PR, and after we've gotten some clarification there, we may need to have a discussion with the committer or the contributors on that to flesh out some of these issues in more detail.
Yeah, the original component operator is AL2, so it can't be contributed as is, as I understand it.
Right. Is there a reference in the PR to that already?
There's a link to the runtime component operator repo in the application stacks, or so in the pull request, the description of the pull request has a link.
Okay. So, we're well over time at this point. Would ask everyone to please reflect those concerns into that issue, and we can either discuss it during the next community call, or we can book something separate to have a more detailed discussion around that contribution. All right, then I will close the meeting for today. Thank you everyone for the discussion today. We'll meet again next week.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.